The burners are off and they've packed their knives and gone. But when it comes to scandals, leaving the Top Chef kitchen doesn't mean leaving them behind. When viewers tuned in to Top Chef Season 5, they knew to expect drama, but they probably didn't expect the kind of drama that was actually served. Things got heated in a completely different way when chefs Leah Cohen and Hosea Rosenberg shared a kiss, which remained a talking point for years after the season ended.
I absolutely regret it. I did not want that to happen.
Cohen spoke with TV Guide about the consequences of the televised kiss, like the fact that her boyfriend wasn't super happy. She said, "I went home and told him right away. Needless to say, he was not cool about it, and we are not together anymore." In a separate interview with People, Cohen spoke about the status of her relationship with Rosenberg, saying, "We're really good friends. He's my boy. I love him like a friend." Rosenberg went on to win the season, but fans weren't in a hurry to forget the fact that both he and Cohen cheated on their significant others. Pushback was so loud that Rosenberg penned a statement for Bravo, writing in part that it was an impossibly stressful situation. "I just hope that anyone out there who is easy to point the finger looks deeply inside themselves and can honestly say they haven't ever wronged someone. I have to live with my mistakes and try and grow as a person from it." Season 2 finalist Elia Aboumrad returned to compete in Season 8's Top Chef All-Stars and was unfortunately eliminated in the very first episode.
Elia, please pack your knives and go.
But Aboumrad would wind up extending her time in the spotlight, determined not to go down without a fight. The chef took aim not at her fellow competitors, but at head judge Tom Colicchio. In an exit interview with the Chicago Tribune's The Stew, Aboumrad claimed that Colicchio was no longer about the food, saying, "He's not all about supporting farmers markets. He's all about high-fructose corn syrup, and there's only corn-fed beef on all of his menus now." She also chastised the judge for endorsing Diet Coke. Fast forward a few months to the show's reunion episode where Colicchio addressed Aboumrad face-to-face.
Buy more from small farmers than you will in your lifetime.
Speaking about beef.
He told Aboumrad, "I understand that you're upset, and that's fine. Being the first person to go, obviously it was difficult. There are 4 people on the panel, 4 judges. This was something that was a unanimous decision. This wasn't personal, but you chose to make it personal."
This is a good lesson as a young chef. Be careful what you say in the press.
Aboumrad concluded the debate by stating that she stood by her comments. One of the most recent scandals surrounding Top Chef wasn't a matter of who, it was a matter of where. In September 2021, the show announced its 19th season would film in Houston. It would be the 4th time Top Chef was set in Texas, after previous seasons in San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin. But something noteworthy and highly controversial had occurred in the Lone Star State since the show's last visit. Just a month before the announcement, Texas enacted a restrictive abortion ban that was widely denounced by women's groups, pro-choice advocates, and even President Joe Biden. Top Chef fans questioned why the popular show would opt to work in Texas following the controversial bill. They argued that tax money generated from the show's presence would go straight to the government responsible for the legislation. Padma Lakshmi came to the show's defense, explaining the rationale in a series of X-posts. She wrote, "Texans are up against so much right now, a hateful anti-abortion bill, erasure of voting rights, and a humanitarian and constitutional crisis at the border. Houston is one of the most diverse cities in the U.S. Its government and the majority of its people oppose Governor Abbott's heinous bills. Our show highlights the small businesses that hire the very same women, BIPOC people, and low-income folks that these laws harm most." Danny Garcia took top honors in Season 21 of Top Chef, but his victory was bittersweet. The win came alongside the death of Jamal James Kent, who was meant to be his partner in a new restaurant. On top of that, Garcia's cooking came under fire by a fellow chef. In a now deleted post on Instagram, chef Victoria Blamey accused Garcia of using a dish she created for an elimination challenge that he ultimately won.
This is like a duck. There's no chaos on the surface, but it's just paddling away underneath. Underneath, it's crazy and chaotic, which is nice.
Blamey and Garcia were both working at Mena when the dish, scallop choux farci, made it to the menu, and Blamey didn't pull any punches. She took aim at what she perceived as not only a lack of ability to come up with a dish on the fly, but nothing short of professional theft as well. And sure, that seems like a pretty straightforward accusation, except that Blamey had previously given interviews about the very same dish in which she described collaborating with Garcia on its creation. It's also worth noting that the dish isn't exactly unheard of. Choux farci is essentially a French take on stuffed cabbage rolls, and that's an idea that's been around in various cultures for around 2,000 years. Social media reminded Blamey of her previous comments about a collaboration, but she didn't seem to back down from her accusations. Season 12 of Top Chef included Adam Harvey, the chef and owner of a farm-to-table restaurant called Bar Salumi. In 2018, the New York Post broke the news that Harvey had been arrested and was accused of trying to poison and kill a neighbor's tree.
I'm not backing down.
Harvey ultimately pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 35 days of community service. The incident itself was reported to have started when he installed solar panels on his townhouse and his neighbor refused to cut down a tree that was blocking the sun. Witnesses told police they had seen Harvey douse the tree with herbicide to get rid of the problem. The tree survived, but Harvey's Bar Salumi did not. The restaurant closed in 2018 with news reports on the closure linked to Harvey's arrest, along with a previous history of raising local ire by advertising his restaurant via spray paint and graffiti. Top Chef Season 12 also included the Los Angeles-based Aaron Grissom, who was arrested on domestic violence charges, while the season was still being aired. Details were scarce, and Bravo did not immediately release a statement, but it was widely reported that he had allegedly shoved and injured his girlfriend. Grissom's arrest was immediately a topic of conversation online, and it gets repeated a lot in conversations started by those new to Top Chef. His story has a tragic end as well. In 2020, Grissom was killed in a single-vehicle motorcycle accident. After he died, a neighboring restaurant owner in Tacoma, Washington, disputed Grissom's arrest story, telling the News Tribune, "He is not that. He might be hot-headed, but a lot of chefs are like that." Justin Sutherland was a contestant on Top Chef Season 16 who went on to win an Outstanding Culinary Host Emmy for Taste the Culture with Justin Sutherland.
I'm on a mission to tell untold BIPOC stories in the food community.
But he's no stranger to controversy. There was pushback surrounding the opening of an ultimately short-lived restaurant called Side Chick, which featured a menu with items like Legs for Days, Nashville Hottie, Dirty Eggs, and Guilty Pleasure. When called out over the allegedly sexist names, Sutherland responded that the menu item titles were purely chicken-related. The restaurant closed in 2022. 2 years later, Sutherland was arrested on felony domestic abuse charges that included accusations of physical violence and threats. Sutherland and his attorney initially denied the allegations, but according to court documents, police had been called to intervene in the middle of a video call that seemed to capture someone grabbing and throwing the phone. The first incident and arrest happened over the summer, and in October he was arrested again on accusations of violating a restraining order. Sutherland ultimately pleaded guilty and was given house arrest for 2 months, probation for 2 years, and mandated anger management courses. The future of pastry chefs is on an upswing, and in a Top Chef spin-off, those specializing in sweet treats got their chance to shine. Top Chef Just Desserts first aired in 2010, and it was helmed by Gail Simmons and head judge Johnny Iuzzini. Fast forward to 2017, and that's when 4 of Iuzzini's former employees came forward to accuse him of sexual harassment. In interviews conducted by Mike, the 4 said they had worked with Iuzzini at New York City's Jean Georges and claimed they had been the victims of repeated instances of harassment that had taken place between 2009 and 2011. One of the accusers said they had not come forward to report to management because they were worried Iuzzini would find out, while another was afraid it would hurt their own career. When the women did come forward, it was with claims of verbal abuse, inappropriate touching, and violent acts. According to one, "I think he did things to make people uncomfortable and to see what he could get away with." Iuzzini issued a formal statement in response to the accusations. While he denied many of the specific allegations, he said, "I must take responsibility if any of the members of my team felt uncomfortable by my words or actions, regardless of my intent or recollection."
Marcel Vigneron first appeared on Top Chef Season 2, and though it was clear from the beginning that he was wildly talented, he's been called the, quote, most popular but least liked contestant per the Las Vegas Sun. But things got out of hand one night when Vigneron and fellow chef testants Elon, Cliff, and Elia were left alone in their house on the final night of filming with just a handheld camera to record footage.
It was a stupid joke.
What's your f***ing problem?
Everyone's story differs, but what the camera showed was Cliff pinning Marcel to the ground in an attempt to forcibly shave Vigneron's head while the others watched. Cliff put Vigneron in a full Nelson, at which point Vigneron was able to get away.
Is this for real? What the f***'s going on right now?
Judge Tom Colicchio was so enraged by the incident that he wanted to have all 4 of the participants in Marcel's assault to be sent home, which would have made Vigneron the winner by default.
We're going to have to ask you to leave.
Instead, producers intervened, and only Cliff was sent home the next day. Mike Isabella was a contestant on Season 6 of Top Chef and Top Chef All-Stars. The Washington, D.C. area chef found a huge amount of success after his appearance on the shows, opening 11 restaurants and managing a staff of nearly 800 people. It seemed he was going to be a major Top Chef success story, until he wasn't.
And it's yes chef, no chef, or I don't know chef. There's no other things that you should be saying in a kitchen besides that.
Isabella's new empire began to crumble in 2017 when a female manager claimed she was harassed by both Isabella and his business partners, per The Atlantic. She claimed Isabella's offenses included inappropriate comments, showing up to work drunk, and goading another chef into trying to sleep with her, an event that she says led to Isabella firing her. She also said that 2 of his business partners sent her illicit text messages, and that the group as a whole called her names, insulted her, and touched her without permission. The case eventually settled. Isabella filed for bankruptcy, and in December 2018, Isabella closed all of his Mike Isabella concept restaurants. John Besh was a famous restaurateur in New Orleans and head of the John Besh Restaurant Group when he appeared as a guest judge on Top Chef Colorado in the 15th season of the show. The James Beard Award winner had appeared on several other cooking shows, wrote an award-winning cookbook, and was considered to be one of the preeminent New Orleans chefs. But in between his Top Chef appearance being filmed and the episode airing, scandal erupted.
The explosive allegations of sexual harassment against celebrity chef John Besh and his restaurant group are now making national headlines.
Eater reported that 25 women came forward with allegations that Besh had created a work environment in which harassment and assault flourished. Former employee Maggie Moore, who was fired by Besh's business partner, told Fox 8 News that she said at the time,
"The reason that we're here goes back to when I wouldn't have sex with John, and that is why I'm being fired right now." And the response that I got was, "I'm sorry."
Soon after the news broke, Bravo made a statement saying that they were evaluating Besh's episode. Then, days after the series premiere, Bravo announced that it would edit Besh out of the episode entirely. Chef Graham Elliot may have 2 Michelin stars under his belt, but the charismatic cook and TV personality hasn't always operated his restaurant above board, according to a group of employees who sued him.
If it's not broken, break it.
Elliot, who appeared on MasterChef and MasterChef Junior for a decade before becoming a judge on Top Chef in 2016, was sued in 2012 by 14 former servers at his Chicago restaurant who alleged that they were owed money due to unlawful tip pooling, adding that Elliot was operating a, quote, systemic scheme to deprive them of regular and overtime compensation, according to Eater. The employees were seeking back pay plus interest. The case was settled in the fall of 2012, with Elliot paying an undisclosed sum to his former employees.
Alex, the #1 question that we got for this reunion, did you really steal Ed's pea puree?
The infamous Peagate incident from Top Chef Season 7 isn't just the most humorously named scandal the show has ever seen, but also one of the most befuddling.
I'm gonna be absolutely fair and only think about the food. I'm not even gonna think about who's cooking it.
Here's what went down. Chef Teston Ed Cotton made a pea puree to accompany a seafood dish. Then, somewhere between the prep kitchen and the restaurant kitchen where they'd be preparing their meals for the challenge, Cotton's puree went missing.
Alex, did you see that pea puree? I did not.
At the same time, Chef Alex Reznik suddenly had a pea puree that he had planned to feature in his dish, even though he had already been shown on camera wondering what to serve with his salmon. The coincidence seemed almost too convenient, especially when Cotton was forced to change his dish and Reznik ended up winning that week's challenge. Season 9 winner Paul Key had a great reputation at one point. He was one of the most famous chefs in Austin, Texas, after nabbing a James Beard Award and winning Top Chef Texas. But Key was not immune to scandal.
A popular Austin chef reportedly assaulted his girlfriend.
In 2016, the Washington Post reported Key was arrested for assault after his girlfriend alleged that he had gone on a violent, drug-fueled rampage, during which he pushed her and her infant son and blocked them from escaping the apartment, knocking over furniture, shelves, and tables, and causing her bodily harm. Key made a statement saying that he was innocent of the assault charges, but that he would be checking into rehab following the incident. The charges against Key were eventually dropped as the alleged victim stopped cooperating with the investigation, according to Eater.
That was a side of me I've never, ever seen, or I never thought that I would gotten that out of hand.
In the fallout, 3 of Key's restaurants closed. These days, the chef is still getting work and opening new businesses, but his successes are rarely noted without mention of this scandal.
Something that I own and that's something that I have to live with, and it's something that I have to be responsible for.
When production is deciding where to film a project, it's not uncommon for them to seek out local film commissions and state governments to receive tax benefits in exchange for bringing business to the state in question. But according to Eater, when Top Chef started filming in Texas, the production company's techniques weren't all above board.
It's Texas. They made it bigger. This season's raising the level of intensity pretty fast.
There were rumors that production approached several different cities, including Houston, Dallas, and Austin, and were trying to negotiate a pay-to-play deal where they would shoot in a certain city in exchange for a cash payout, selecting those cities who were willing to pay the most rather than relying on the traditional tax breaks. So how much money exactly did Texas end up paying the show? Officially, the state claimed it would cost taxpayers nothing to have the show filmed in Texas. But according to the Dallas Observer, Governor Rick Perry's office signed a statement agreeing to subsidize the show to the tune of $400,000 in exchange for, quote, the integration of the state's brand in Bravo's production of Top Chef Cycle 9. You expect the contestants on Top Chef to be given some very unique ingredients to work with. After all, these cooks are pros, and if the judges want to shake things up, they have to think outside of the box.
And it's not easy, and some of it's nasty.
However, producers on Top Chef Canada may have taken things a little too far when they had one chef use horse meat in a challenge that asked contestants to make a traditional French dish. Apparently, horse meat isn't exactly popular in Canada, according to HuffPost, but in the province of Quebec, you can find it at grocery stores and butchers. More than 90,000 horses are slaughtered in Canada each year for consumption.
Oh my God, I'm going to vomit.
When news broke that an upcoming episode would feature a chef cooking with horse meat, the internet erupted in protest. There was even a Facebook group that was joined by more than 5,000 people. Top Chef Canada stood by their decision to include horse meat on the show, saying via the Globe and Mail, the challenge in this episode involves having the competitors create a truly authentic traditional French menu. One of the most traditional French foods is horse meat. When Top Chef moved to Boston for season 12, they decided to use a non-union film crew. And according to Inside Edition, there are two sides to what happened next.
The production company did not hire teamsters, drivers. Local union leaders tried to shut the show down.
Having been passed over for the gig, a group of 4 Boston Teamsters said that they were on site that day simply picketing the Top Chef crew to, quote, protest against the abuse of the Massachusetts film tax credit and the fact that they were operating a non-union set. However, witnesses, including Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi herself, said that they became aggressive and violent.
At least she knows I'm not a scab like you.
Lakshmi claims that the men came up to her in her car and hissed at her, with one saying, quote, I'll smash your pretty little face, while others alleged that the Teamsters yelled profanities, slashed the tires of vehicles being used by the crew, and were chest-bumping crew members in a threatening way as they arrived to set. The incident was just one of several being looked at to determine whether Mayor Marty Walsh's office had inappropriate ties with organized labor in the city, with one city employee claiming he pulled the permits for Top Chef in order to pressure them to use members of a local union on their film crew. Judge Tom Colicchio has long been an advocate for fair labor, an activist in the realm of food insecurity, and is generally considered to be a good guy in the restaurant industry. But even he isn't immune to scandal.
Whether you're a chef, whether you're a porter, whether you're a server, you have to have sort of a desire to really care for people.
According to Take Part, in 2015, Colicchio's Witchcraft sandwich chain was sued for allegedly distributing tips unfairly, resulting in workers getting paid less than minimum wage, as well as not paying employees adequately for working overtime. Even delivery people for the chain claimed that they weren't fairly compensated for the time it took them to change in and out of their uniform, and they were paid for fewer hours than they reported working. This wasn't the first time that Colicchio has come under fire for labor practices. His restaurant Craft Bar settled a lawsuit out of court with employees who alleged that their tips were being garnished and that they weren't getting paid minimum wage. Colicchio denied the allegations, though he did say that the situation should be investigated fairly and that his employees should be taken seriously, noting that state minimum wage regulations can make paying tipped employees more complicated than it seems. Jeff McInnis and Janine Booth both competed on Top Chef, and eventually even opened a restaurant together in New York called Root and Bone. But unfortunately, scandal shadowed the entire enterprise.
Working together and how to work together, and maybe how not to work together.
Having space too.
Yeah. We've learned a lot.
The Miami Herald reported McInnis's ex-wife claimed that McInnis and Booth had been having an affair and that he pressured her into a divorce so that he could move to New York with Booth. She also alleged that McInnis left his previous job because his business partner wanted to run a family company, and McInnis's philandering didn't fit in. Nevertheless, McInnis and Booth opened Root and Bone, which debuted with much fanfare and positive reviews. But according to Eater, things soured when the duo was sued by their business partner, who alleged that they lied about the restaurant's profits and embezzled over $280,000 from the restaurant, supposedly using it to renovate the apartment above the restaurant where they lived and to hold a pop-up restaurant in Puerto Rico. The scandal eventually blew over, and McInnis and Booth got engaged on the set of The Chew in 2018. Both also still work at the successful Root and Bone. Viewers of Top Chef might be shocked upon revisiting Season 1 when they realize that Katie Lee, not the now iconic Padma, was the show's first host.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Lee Joel.
Lee wasn't exactly praised for her performance on the show, with viewers calling her robotic and wooden. After a single season, Andy Cohen announced that Lee was leaving the show to, quote, pursue other opportunities. Later, in his 2012 memoir, Cohen would recount how Lee would get so nervous on set and feel so guilty about having to send contestants home that her pounding heartbeat could be heard through her mic.
So go home, enjoy your first night in the house. For one of you, it will be your last.
Lee was replaced by Lakshmi, who hosted the next 15 seasons of the show. But Lee didn't disappear completely. She's now a co-host of Food Network's The Kitchen, has appeared on Food Network shows like the Halloween Baking Championship, Meat Sweats, Beat Bobby Flay, and Rachel Ray. Lee is also a cookbook author and novelist.